Aloha. You're listening to Chad Ford's NBA Big Board on the Locked On Podcast Network. My guest, longtime friend, Tony Jones of The Athletic. It's been a while, Tony.
Thank you for getting to me, and we figured out a way not to ignore each other, and we figured out a way to get together and do this. I'm looking forward to this because these are some of the most fun things that we both get to do, and Happy New Year, and it's good to see you, and it's good to do this.
Yeah, it's great to see Tony. So we're going to do something special because it's been a while since we have Tony. Everybody's asking mock draft. Chad, when are you going to do your mock draft? That is today. We launched Mock Draft 1.0 over at NBABigBoard.com. We're going to do a mock draft today with Tony Jones. It's going to be a lot of fun. Here we go. All right, I'm with Tony Jones, and we are going to talk 2022 NBA Draft mock draft. That's right, our first mock draft of the year. You can go read my whole mock draft over at NBABigBoard.com. Drop that on Thursday. But Tony and I are going to do something a little different than what I did. I was talking to general managers, people around the league, trying to figure out where guys might be going. But Tony and I are going to just kind of spitball this with our own opinions. We're going to go back and forth on this. We picked the draft order based off 538's projected records towards the end of the season. So they've got an analytics model that projects out records throughout the end of the year. So I don't want to hear from you Knicks fans when you get upset that your team's in the lottery, or Lakers fans that your team's in the lottery. That's just what 538's projecting. It's not what Tony's projecting. It's not what I'm projecting. But we're going to use that model to think about, as of Tuesday, the teams that 538 thinks are going to be in the lottery. And we're going to go back and forth a little bit on who we like for each of these teams in the draft. So, Tony, I'm going to kick it off. You're going to have the number one pick in the draft. It's Orlando Magic. They have the worst record in the league. 538 thinks that they're going to be the worst team in the league. But they got a lot of young talent. Franz Wagner, legitimate Rookie of the Year candidate. Jalen Suggs been playing a lot better since he came back from his injury. You've got Cole Anthony having a big-time sophomore season after somewhat of a rocky rookie campaign. You've got guys like Markelle Fultz, who's just 23 years old. Jonathan Isaac's only 24 years old. RJ Hampton's in the mix. Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter. Tons of young talent on this Magic team. You can go just about anywhere you want to go with this. So putting you on the spot, if the Magic have the number one pick in the draft, who do they take?
I am taking Chet Holmgren. I know that Jabari Smith has been at the top of the board. I know Paolo Banchero has been also at the top of the board. And, I know that Chet's viability as a number one pick because of the emergence of those two has dimmed a little bit. But the reason why I am going Chet Holmgren is because of Evan Mobley. And Evan Mobley, if we do a redraft today, would be the runaway number one pick of this draft. And this is and the thing that's interesting about that is Cade Cunningham, to me, has been everything that I thought he's been. And Evan Mobley is still probably going to be would still be the number one pick of a redraft. What Orlando has right now is they have, ball in hand playmaking and Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs. Franz Wagner has emerged to be a guy who you can build around as a small forward. If they ever get Jonathan Isaac healthy and durable, he has real upside as one of the best defensive power forwards in the league. And Chet Holmgren is the best defensive prospect in this draft. He is the best rim protector. He is very unique in the way that he can switch. You can throw him in a drop big and he'd be great right away. He's also a great passer for his size. He's a good shooter for his size. He probably doesn't have the offensive upside of Banchero or Jabari Smith. But to me, he is an almost generational defensive prospect. I don't think that he's as good a prospect as Mobley because Mobley's offensive upside has proven to be immense, as well as what he's done defensively. But the way that Mobley stepped in and changed Cleveland defensively and made an impact on Cleveland defensively around the talents of playmaking guard Darius Garland, who has played at, an all-star level this year. It's hard for me when you have pieces that are already in place, and the Magic have pieces that are already in place. You want somebody who can change games defensively. And Chet Holmgren is going to me, in my mind, he's going to be able to change games defensively right off the bat. He's a tough kid. He's a competitive kid. He backs down to nobody. He's a fearless kid. He's going to rebound. He shrinks the floor with his length. He can grab and go in terms of rebounding. He can start a break for you. He's a really, really unique prospect, and I just have a hard time passing him at number one if I were Orlando.
Well, it's not hard to sell Chet Holmgren to me. He was number one on my big board 1.0, 2.0 as well, and is number two right now behind Jabari Smith Jr. On the mock draft that I released on NBA Big Board on Thursday, I had Jabari Smith going here. I certainly think your argument is a sound one for Chet Holmgren. I'm a little uncomfortable with the Evan Mobley thing because I don't see the sort of foot speed and agility that Evan Mobley has out of Chet Holmgren. And that, to me, is partly what makes Evan Mobley such a devastating defender, is his ability to get out on the perimeter and have the foot speed and just fluidity in a 7-footer to move laterally the way that he does. I haven't quite seen that from Chet. I think Chet's not a bad athlete. I think he can do some of that, but that's what Mobley does that's elite for me. If I make an argument for Orlando for Jabari Smith, it's that this is the 28th worst or the third worst shooting team in the NBA. I think they rank 28th in 3-point percentage. Adding Jabari, who not only is a great 3-point shooter for a big man, I think he's just a great 3-point shooter. I mean, his stroke is absolutely pure. And you combine that with his two-way ability at his size at 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan. I think that he's a little bit better fit in Orlando. But again, I'm not going to quabble with you at Chet Holmgren at number one, because I think he's absolutely worthy in the number one pick. I would go in a slightly different direction. And it opens up the space for me, Tony, with the number two pick in the draft, the Detroit Pistons, to get a guy that, at least when I'm hearing out of Detroit, Troy Weaver is absolutely hungry for in pairing Cade Cunningham and Jabari Smith Jr. Together on this Detroit Pistons team. Again, you could make an argument Detroit also needs rebounding and shot blocking, and that Chet Holmgren is a really good fit there as well. And I think that's fair. I also hear, interestingly enough, that Troy Weaver's a big fan of Jaden Ivey and sees a combination of Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham as being something really interesting as well. Yeah, it might be a little bit high. I'm not sure yet. I can see why you might feel that it's high, but I'm going to go Jabari Smith Jr. here. I love that fit in Detroit. The only caveat might be, I keep hearing that the Pistons are holding out on Jeremy Grant, hoping that the Bulls are going to come back and give in and give Patrick Williams back in a deal for Jeremy Grant at the trade deadline. And if they can get Patrick Williams, then that would shift my thinking a little bit on having Jabari Smith Jr. there, and maybe would pivot towards Chet Holmgren. If Detroit could pull that off, I think that's an absolute.
There is no way on God's green earth that I am giving Patrick Williams for Jeremy Grant. I am sorry.
Look, I wouldn't do that deal either if I'm Chicago, but I think Chicago is trying to push all those chips in right now. Jeremy Grant is an absolute fit there.
I could push my chips in to the point where you say, okay, but can you give me Patrick Williams? I'll say, how's Kobe White look? How do you like Kobe White? Yeah. And if not, then we hang up the phone, because I'm not giving you Patrick Williams, period.
Okay, so no deal. Tony Jones says no deal. What do you think about Jabari Smith Jr. at 2 to the Pistons? Would that be your choice, or would you go Banchero?
I'd absolutely love it. I mean, interestingly enough, I'm going to make a comparison that might make people gag, but Trey Lyles has some Jabari Smith in him a little bit, just with the skill set in terms of being able to face up, shoot the basketball, handle the basketball. Now, obviously, Jabari Smith is about at least 10 times the athlete, and he's a much, much, much better defender as well at the same stage. And he's a better shooter, much better shooter at the same stage. I mean, Trey Lyles took some years to even get to this level of shooter. But you can see why Troy Weaver looks at Trey Lyles, because Trey Lyles has had a really good season this year, and say, okay, Jabari really fits. And and I think when I don't like Jaden Ivey for Detroit, because I want Cade Cunningham to be the point guard full time, and you put him on the ball and you put guys around him. I think that you can build a championship contender around that. And I don't want Cade Cunningham off the ball. I want him on the ball in sort of a James Harden kind of way. Not to the level of James Harden where he has 40% usage, but Cade Cunningham to me is a point guard. I want him to run the point. So I wouldn't want Jaden Ivey. I'd much rather have Jabari Smith or Banchero. So, the difference for me between Jabari and Banchero is that Jabari to me is a better defender at this stage. And I really think watching Jabari, the athleticism pops off the screen. The way he commands a game pops off the screen. He's one of those guys that I feel, he can have 5 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, but he's still kind of controlling the game. And that's a pretty, that's a pretty rare attribute. And I think Chet Holmgren has that attribute as well. So I texted you and I told you how much I really like Jabari Smith. But you can see the impact that he's had on Auburn and how good Auburn has been with him in the lineup this year.
Let's pivot now to the Houston Rockets, who 538 thinks will have the third worst record in the draft. It would give them an even shot, 14% shot at the number 1 pick. We both like Jalen Green before the draft. He hasn't looked so hot early on. A lot of rookies
still like him. Still love the athleticism.
Still love the athleticism. He's clearly a gifted scorer. He's been a highly inefficient scorer for Houston, but you hope with time and with strength that's going to start to work some of itself out, and maybe a little bit different personnel around him. Houston also, big question marks. Is Christian Wood going to be there after the trade deadline? Is Eric Gordon going to be there after the trade deadline? Is Kevin Porter Jr. going to be there long term? So lots of things shifting right now. Alperen Sengun looks like he's been a hit in the mid-first round. It looks like he's got a lot of talent as well. Josh Christopher has played well coming off the bench for Houston as well. Who do you go with here? Is this clearly Banchero now at this point in the draft?
I don't want to upset people. I'm going to pick Banchero here. But I would seriously consider Jaden Ivey here.
Okay.
And I'll get to Jaden Ivey first. Point guards with his size and his athleticism just do not grow on trees, right? Like, they just don't grow on trees. And the jump shot is starting to come along a little bit, where that had been a real weak spot coming into this year. 6'4", 6'5". He's so quick on the floor. He's so springy vertically. He can finish on top of the rim. In this era, if that jump shot comes along, kind of like what John Moran has done, so it depends on how hard he works. He's got a chance to be a real star in this league, and if you pair him with Jalen Green, that could be a really, really, really good backcourt for years to come, especially if you're moving on from Kevin Porter Jr. But I'm gonna take the safe route, and I'm gonna go with Banchero.
You just sold me on Jaden Ivey to Houston, and now you're going to
take Banchero. I know I did, but I'm gonna take the safe route. Listen, the streets ain't ready for that, Chad. They're not ready. They're not ready for Jalen Ivey over Banchero yet. So I'm gonna take the safe route and pick Banchero because he's a walking 2010 in the NBA, and you know what you're gonna get. he's a professional scorer. Like right now at Duke, he scored all three levels. He's very, very athletic. I do question what he's going to be defensively in the league. So if you have him and Sengun in your front court, I do question how much you're going to stop people. But he's going to walk in. Banchero might be rookie of the year next year, just off the fact that he's going to go like 18-10 right off the bat. Like he's going to fall out of bed in the NBA and go 18-10. And the question is, can he go to 28-12? And the question is how good he can become defensively. But he's as safe as you can get for a top 3 pick. I just wonder what the upside is.
I think your scouting report's right on with Banchero in my opinion, and he's going to be one of these tough guys in the draft because there's going to be a big consensus people that say this guy. You look at his body, you look at his skill set, you look at his feel for the game. By the way, which I think is excellent. I think he really understands the game, and they see a little Carmelo Anthony in him, though he's bigger than Carmelo,
Right.
and it's
exactly.
so easy to translate his game to the NBA. But I worry about the defensive upside. I'm not 100% sure the shot is, he can stretch the floor, but at what, 33, 34%, what's that going to be? I mean, ideally for them, I like in the scenario that we're talking about here, I like the Jaden Ivey thing, and the stuff that I'm putting together, maybe Chet Holmgren. A little bit depends on, Christian Wood. I don't really like Christian Wood and Chet Holmgren together, but Sengun and Holmgren, I actually kind of like that pairing together. So it'll be interesting to see, and who knows, by the way, what's going to happen in Houston over the next few weeks, because I think there's going to be some stuff going down
Right.
for sure there. All right, well, that sets me up with the 4th pick in the draft, Oklahoma City Thunder. And by the way, folks, I think these are the 4 teams that are going to end up with the 4 worst records. What order they end up in, I'm not really sure, but there's a pretty big gap as we get to the next
Oklahoma
names.
City is a big test for you, Chad, because now we're going to see. Now we're going to see if you're going to go. Now we're going to see if you're going to go fit or if you're going to go best player available.
Oh, I'm going Jaden Ivey.
Okay,
I'm a Jaden Ivey guy. Yeah, I'm going to go Jaden Ivey. And a couple things I'll say. I don't actually think Sam Presti's much of a fit guy to begin with.
Right.
And so if I'm guessing on, and also he's not a consensus guy, or he wouldn't have taken Josh Giddey, ahead of Jonathan Kuminga. And I think Shea and Jaden Ivey, I think they can work together in the backcourt. I question actually whether Jaden Ivey is more of a 2 than a point. If I have concerns about him, it's a little bit of tunnel vision with the basketball at times. I'm not really making great reads, sometimes forcing shots. That's actually the one area of concern I have. He's really and shooting off the bounce. He's definitely surprised me with how good he's been able to shoot when he gets his feet set. And he's spotting up. He's been less effective when he's been shooting off the bounce. Those are things that I want to see. But the elite athleticism, the size, the length, I love his drive. I love his actually background with his mom, former player, assistant coach in the NBA, head coach in college. All of that stuff just speaks to me. And I know there were some mixed opinions about him with Team USA in the under-19s, with some people really loving him, some people wondering whether he got a little selfish at times. I'm in the Ivy camp all the way. I'm comfortable with him after Jabari Smith at 1. I'm comfortable with him going in the draft, wherever that's 2, 3, 4, and 5, probably the range. I see people nitpicking him a little bit right now, but if you're watching Ja Morant and the things that he's doing, you see that at the next level for what he could be.
I think people nitpicking him are overthinking it a little bit, because when you have I mean, he's okay as a 2, but I want him as a 1, because he's an average size 2, but he's an oversized 1. And when you look at that, and you look at the athleticism, it's kind of almost like Russell Westbrook, right? Like you can teach some of the tunnel vision things. Like you can say, okay, you got to make this read or you got to make that read. But man, when you give him that basketball and he's boom, like he just hits that crease, and then all of a sudden he's finishing on top of the rim. I mean, it's It's hard to replicate that. Those kind of point guards, it's just really hard to replicate. And I get it. He's not Ja Morant, because Ja Morant was much more of a point guard at this stage. And Ja Morant, the thing that people don't talk about with Ja Morant, understandably because of what he does in the air, is that he's so much more cerebral on the ground than people give him credit for. Like, Ja can get into the lane. He's got that floater. That's one of the best floaters in the league. He does a lot. He does a lot more on the ground than people realize, and that sets him up for when he gets in the air. So that's the challenge that Jaden Ivey has to meet. He's got to get that in between floater, which he's starting to develop this year. I think that the perimeter shot is a lot better this year than it has been in years past. I'd like to see Matt Painter give him the ball more and have him on the ball a lot more. He has him off the ball quite a bit at Purdue. But the other thing with Jaden Ivey is he's playing with two traditional bigs at Purdue, which kind of clouds the spacing. Once you get him in the league and you get him into that NBA spacing, he's going to take off. Yeah, and
that's why one of those bigs, Trevion Williams, maybe the best passer on the team. By the
absolutely. I love Trevion Williams. Trevion Williams reminds me of Caleb Swanigan.
Yeah.
He reminds me a lot of Caleb Swanigan. Probably a little bit more athletic at this stage than Caleb was. But yeah.
All right. So what we've learned.
We're definitely on the Jaden Ivey train.
What we've learned is we're both on the Jaden Ivey train. We're both on the Jabari Smith train. Tony's still definitely on the Chet Holmgren train. We're a little bit worried about where Paolo Banchero's train is ultimately lands, though we know it's going to go someplace good, but how great it's going to be. And that's generally the consensus anyway. Those four guys in some order, depending on which team you talk about, the 4 picks in draft. So when we come back, we're going to talk about what's next, because after that, I think the consensus just absolutely starts to break down. We're going to hear Tony's thoughts, my thoughts, but first, it's Built Bar time, Tony. It's the New Year's. That means New Year's resolutions. It's about getting fit, eating healthier, making sure Built Bar is in your plan. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. It's easy to make you stick to your resolutions because it tastes so good you want to eat it. Other protein bars are chalky, waxy, taste like a chemical spill. We want to eat healthy, and healthy can be boring sometimes. And you just think, man, this isn't worth it. Where's the chocolate? Built Bars are 100% covered in real chocolate. They contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar. It gets 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, dozens of net carbs. So here's an idea. Go to your pantry, at home, the office, wherever you kind of hide all your sweets, throw them all out, replace them with Built Bars, and you've got a snack or a treat that you can reach to. It's healthy and it tastes incredible. And even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you can go and eat Built Bars and replace some of those candy bars. And, hey, that almost counts as a workout. And there's so many flavors to choose from: coconut, almond, peanut butter, brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, many, many more. My favorite is the coconut. Tastes like a Mounds bar. So delicious. So many other new limited flavors also coming out. So go to built.com, see what's new. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your first order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at builtbar.com. Okay, Tony, we did the easy part. People are going to disagree with this, but we did the easy part. So, of course, you're on the clock. It's the Sacramento Kings. And I just want to share an anecdote here. We got to start. And maybe I've got a little bit of something against the Kings because I'm from Kansas City and they left years ago and went to Sacramento. But then we're looking at 16th year in a row, missing the playoffs right now. And I had a general manager tell me that before the season, the Kings front office thought that not only were they a playoff team this year, they thought they were a contending team this year, and were upset that the prognosticators, whoever those are that do the preseason rankings, did not have them in the top 4 in the West. Wow, the delusions run deep in Sacramento. It's been a disaster. They've actually drafted okay, Tyrese Halliburton. De'Aaron Fox, Davian Mitchell coming off the bench defensively, a little bit of a surprise. Harrison Barnes is good. There's talent there. Again, I think this is a team that we probably see very active at the trade deadline. I'm not sure whatever Kings team we're looking at
I'm
right
pretty
now
sure
is
Buddy Hield will not be a Sacramento King past
Buddy
February.
Hield, Marvin Bagley is another guy. Maybe even Harrison Barnes. We might see gone, towards the trade deadline. They're desperate to make the playoffs, so maybe they won't end up at 5. But I'm questioning whether they're going to make the playoffs this year. But if they're at 5, we've talked about the 4 consensus guys, and I think for most people those are the 4 consensus guys. So blank slate, Tony. Who's your guy in Sacramento at 5?
You see me rubbing my hands together, right? Because this is where I usually drop. This is where I usually drop a bomb. So you ready for this?
I'm so excited. Who's the next Grant Hill, Tony?
I'm taking Kendall Brown.
Okay, that's not a big reach.
No,
I really like
Kendall Brown. But he wasn't even on the board before this year.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He's having a great freshman breakout year. Tell us why Kendall Brown. I actually really like this pick for Sacramento.
Okay, 6'9", 205, two-way wing. Those do not grow on trees, right? It's the reason why if you're the Chicago Bulls, you hang up if the Detroit Pistons ask you for Patrick Williams. Like you say, thanks but no thanks. Take Kobe White, and we'll give you 2 first-round picks, and you give me Jeremy Grant, but I am not giving you Patrick Williams, right? Okay. Isaac Okoro cannot shoot a lick, okay? But he is making a difference in Cleveland just off of his sheer athleticism and his ability to defend, right? His ability to cut. Like, he's actually a really good cutter. So he cuts really well. He gets to the basket. He defends. He's got an NBA body. Lamar Stevens can't shoot a lick, but he is making a difference because he can defend and he does the right things offensively and he plays off of guys. So what is the lesson here, fellas? That, ladies and gentlemen, you can never have enough wings who can defend, who are athletic. And Kendall Brown, for my money, is a better prospect at the same stage than Isaac Okoro because he's shown his jump shot is not consistent yet, but he has shown upside. His jump shot has upside, and he's a better scorer than people realize. And he's a very, very good defender.
Good passer too. Actually, really
very good passer.
Really great feel for the game.
Yeah,
that's actually one of the things that really pops for him.
Yeah, he pops off the screen for me. I'm a big Kendall Brown fan. I was thinking about Johnny Davis just because of how good he's been this year. And because for me, Johnny Davis doesn't have a lot of weakness in his game. But, I cover a team right now in the Utah Jazz that could use Kendall Brown. Or use Herb Jones.
Perfect.
Yeah. Or use Herb Jones or use Jaden McDaniels. You just get those guys with length and athleticism. And if they have a feel for the game, they shoot right up to the top of the board almost instantaneously. And you see it every year. We've seen this for a couple of years running. 2 years ago, it was Isaac Okoro and Patrick Williams. Scotty Barnes last year. Devin Vassell like the year before that. You get any of those guys, 6'6" to 6'9", who are athletic, who can shoot the ball, who can handle the ball, who can defend. Those guys are going to the top of the board. So I'm taking Kendall Brown, number 5.
Can totally live with that. I agree with everything that you said about him right now. I would have taken him 6 to San Antonio. And I think he's a San Antonio player all the way. But I like him in Sacramento for the fact, too, that this is a terrible defensive team. They start to turn the corner with Davian Mitchell in the draft and adding him to the mix. Certainly, I like that. There is one wing that I like better. And this is a little bit of a risk, but A.J. Griffin out of Duke is a guy that the more I watch him, the more he reminds me of a young Jimmy Butler. With really an NBA body, really tough kid, has shot the lights out in Duke, which is the one thing that I think gives him a little bit of an advantage over Kendall Brown. I think Kendall Brown's a little twitchier of an athlete and has got the size advantage over AJ, but the shooting definitely, I think, goes in Griffin's favor. He's only going to be 18 and a little bit over 18 and a half on draft night. And I think this is one of those cases where, because of injuries in high school the last couple of years, and then he misses pro day for Duke with yet another injury, kind of fell off scouts' radar screens a little bit. But now that he's starting to get consistent minutes, he's moved back into Duke's starting lineup right now, and he's never going to be the focal point of that team with Paolo Banchero and all the weapons that they have at Duke. But he's another guy, kind of like Kendall Brown. He pops whenever he's on the floor, and I really love him. And I think these guys, to me, are kind of like 5 and 6 on my board. So you'll take Kendall Brown 5, I'll take AJ Griffin 6. I may have switched the order. Interesting what you think about AJ Griffin.
Yeah, his father was a tough guy, right? And AJ Griffin is a New York kid. I'm sorry, I got all love for my New York kids. So you know what you're gonna get. He's gonna be physical with you. He's not gonna back down to anybody on either end of the floor. I like the Jimmy Butler comparison. I want to see him shoot it. I want to see him develop with the ball in his hands. And like you said, he's not going to have the ball in his hands at Duke. The athleticism pops. The durability for me is a concern. He's been injured at every level at this point. And, but I mean, he's experienced. Stepanek, when he was at Stepanek, those teams were nationally good. And, so he's a winner. And, and I think he's a guy that knows, that's going to know what to expect from the NBA because his father has been, affiliated with the league for so long. So he's kind of grown up in the league. I really like him. So the durability for me is the biggest concern. Can he stay healthy? Can he stay on the floor? Because your best ability is your availability.
Fair enough. Okay, so that's San Antonio and Sacramento. And again, just a reminder, in case you're forgetting, why are we slotting these teams where we were? This is 538's projected ranking of them based on Tuesday when we're recording this podcast.
We are not saying that your team stinks.
Okay. We're not saying your team stinks. So frankly, a lot of the teams that we've talked about so far do. So let's roll to New Orleans Pelicans at 7 now. And is this where Johnny Davis comes off the board for Tony Jones, or do you got another surprise up your sleeve?
I really love Johnny Davis. I'm going to take Bennedict Mathurin.
Okay.
The athleticism, man, it's just, 6'6", 6'7" shooting guard, just quick twitch. I want to see him develop a little bit more as a playmaker. But you see what Herb Jones has done for that team in that lineup. And you could just never have too many athletes, especially around Zion. I don't think Zion's ever going to be a great defender. So you have to build a team around him that defends. And, I think Bennedict really defends. I think that he's just a terrific athlete, really great run and jump athlete. I think he plays off the ball well. And I think that when you look at his impact on Arizona this year, his development has made Arizona pretty much the surprise of college basketball.
Fair, absolutely in that range. I'm maybe a little less high on him because I want to see something in between catch and shoot threes,
right,
straight line drives to the basket. That the athleticism is there, the shooting ability is there, the length is there. Usually and the defensive intensity is here. Usually that's an easy, he's 3 and D. But when you say he's 3 and D, there's no sort of in between there. Like, he really starts to struggle if you're asking him to go out and create for himself.
He's never going to. I mean, as long as Zion's healthy, Zion's going to have the ball in his hands.
Yep.
As long as Brandon Ingram is there, he's going to have the ball in his hands. So you need the guys like, and that's the thing with Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis is a lot more ball in hand than those guys. Yep. And, as long as they have Devontae Graham's going to have the ball in his hands. So you have 3 cooks in the kitchen already for New Orleans. So you have to build, what you need to do is you need to build that team around those guys. And, and I think, in all fairness, Devontae Graham, I mean, you don't want to build around him. But, the other 2 you're absolutely building around. And Herb Jones has really popped for them. He should be first team all rookie.
Hey, and shout out to Tony Jones here, who wanted Herb Jones to the Jazz. Now, I think that was your guy consistently. You like that they got Jared Butler, of course, and I still think you're feeling good long term about what they got there. But total shout out to Tony Jones, who was basically begging the Jazz to draft Herb Jones in the first round.
And that's the thing. You can never, in this league, you could just never have enough 6'8" athletes who can guard the perimeter. I mean,
and we questioned what Herb Jones was going to do offensively, and at first he was defensive only, but he's really started to come along, and he's never going to be your primary offensive option as well.
The thing about it, he's always been a really good secondary playmaker. Always. Yeah. You put the ball in his hands, he can get to the basket. He was always a really good passer. His thing was that he couldn't shoot the basketball, but I mean, there's no accounting. He falls into 10 points a night just getting out in transition and cutting off the ball. And then when you put him with the primary playmakers, he's a really good fit. So that's why I like Bennedict Mathurin for New Orleans.
All right, number 8, it's the Indiana Pacers. And this is not the team Rick Carlisle wanted. He wanted to be a playoff team. It's looking like that's not going to be in the cards this year. Indiana also a team going to be very interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline. Talk about Miles Turner being on the block, though. Now with Miles Turner's injury, that may tank that right now. So I'm torn between the Kevin Pritchard that drafted Chris Duarte because his head coach wanted a guy who can come in and play right now. And the Kevin Pritchard I know that likes to swing for the fences and likes big upside talent. And that's the guy that I knew in Portland and early on in Indiana, and which gets the pick this year. Last year it was more the Carlisle pick and placating Carlisle. So I'm going to give him a swing for the fences pick here at 8. I'm going to pass on Johnny Davis, and I'm going to get Jaden Hardy, the pick here for G League Ignite. He has not been very good early on for the Ignite, but this is one of the top 3 high school players in the country sort of coming out. He's making a much bigger leap from high school basketball to college basketball. He went to the G League. He's still averaging almost 20 points a game per 36 minutes in the G League right now, highly inefficient early on, but I'm seeing him start to make some adjustments. I think he is a little bit more well-rounded than Jalen Green. He's not the athlete Jalen Green is, which is a big knock against him and why he's not going higher. But I believe in the shot. I believe in the stroke, and I believe he still could be a high-level backcourt NBA player someday. And so I'm going to give them Jaden Hardy at 8. You don't seem to like that pick at all.
My fear for Jaden Hardy is that he tops out as Jordan Clarkson. And and I really like Jordan Clarkson. I mean, he's one of the best 6 men in the league. But if he tops out as one of the best, if he tops out as a 6 man of the year candidate, is that worth a top 10 pick?
In this draft, by the way, the answer may be yes. That might be. I mean, are we talking Ben Mathurin being much more than that? I mean, I worry at this part of the draft. We're so spoiled in 2021, where there's been so many incredible picks and guys that just have popped early on. What we might be looking at in this draft. So that's fair. It also might be kind of what we're looking at this stage. Who would you have taken for Indiana at 8?
If I'm taking anybody off the Ignite, I'm taking Dyson Daniels.
Okay.
Because I think that, number one, I think he has upside as a point guard. And I think that he has winning impact on games. He's unselfish. He makes the right reads. I I don't know that the athleticism pops as much as some, but I think he knows how to play basketball, and I think I'm really high on him.
Okay. All right. Well, when we come back, we'll finish out. We'll do quick hits through the rest of the lottery, picks 9 through 14. Tony Jones of The Athletic. We're doing a mock draft. We'll see you in a second. All right, we're back. Tony Jones, you're on the clock. Portland Trailblazers, 538 projects.
Portland Trailblazers. Okay, I'm finally gonna pick Johnny Davis.
Okay, Johnny Davis goes 9 to the Portland Trailblazers.
Been the best player in college basketball this season, hands down, in my opinion. And he's single-handedly turning Wisconsin into a national Final Four contender. I do wonder about the upside. I do need to see a little bit more ball in hand, but it's hard to nitpick any real facet of his game. He's one of those guys that can kind of do everything at a high level. So, you know, if Desmond Bain has taught us anything, it's that you pick guys who know how to play basketball. And Johnny Davis knows how to play basketball.
I actually like that comp, for him. Now, Desmond Bain went 30th in the draft. By the way, our longtime listeners will know that was also a guy that Tony Jones was begging the Jazz. Jazz may have been better off having Tony Jones in the draft room the last couple of years, given who you sort of liked for them. And I like that. I like that pick as well. I would say I don't know that I agree on a couple of things you said, that he doesn't have any flaws. I wonder a little bit about the 3-point shooting. He doesn't take a lot of threes. He's down to 32%. And we have seen defenses the last couple of games start to key in on Johnny Davis because he was kind of an unknown coming out of Wisconsin his freshman year in the Big Ten, which is a really good, maybe the best conference in college basketball this year. Coming after him, and he's been a little less efficient, and so that concerns me. Age just a little bit, as well. And is he the best? I mean, if we're just talking best college basketball player, wouldn't Keegan Murray have an argument to sort of make?
Keegan Murray does have an argument. Listen, I just look at Johnny Davis against Purdue, and I look at Johnny Davis.
That made him a lot of money. That Purdue game made him a ton of money.
You look at him at the November that he had. Like, he was just so good in November during Feast Week. It's hard to argue with what he. I've never taken Wisconsin seriously, Chad.
Yeah.
Even in the years that they've made the Final Four, even in those years, I always look at them. I'm like, man, I don't really take them seriously. They're not for real. And I take them seriously this year, and that's because of Johnny Davis.
Yeah. He's having a great season. All right.
Keegan Murray's having a great season, though.
Keegan Murray also having a great season.
Big Ten is good this year. I've really loved
Kofi Cockburn also having a huge season in Illinois.
My God. I've so loved watching the Big Ten. I really have. So
a lot of fun games almost every night. A lot of stacked teams. Michigan, huge shock there about how bad they've been.
Somebody is going to take Travion Williams in the second round, and he's going to be a steal.
Yeah, I think so as well. All right, it should be my turn, but I'm gonna cede this pick to Tony Jones because listen carefully, don't snip this out of context. According to 538's projections, the New York Knicks will have the 10th pick in the draft with a projected record.
We are not going to have the 10th pick in the draft.
Yeah. Tony Jones does not agree. I know Knicks fans are going to be. I already see the headline. Chad Ford says Knicks are going to be in the lottery again. 538 says it. But assuming 538's right, I know Tony doesn't believe that it's right. I know Knicks fans in your heart don't believe it's right. But this is Tony's team. He covers the Jazz, but his heart is with the Knicks. And so I'm giving you the 10th pick in the draft right now. Who do you take with the Knicks? Who should the Knicks draft?
So Keegan Murray is on the board, right?
Keegan Murray's on the board. Jalen Duren's on the board.
I know. And Jalen Duren is on the board, right?
TyTy Washington's on the board.
Yeah, TyTy Washington. I'm going to pass all of them, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to take Patrick Baldwin.
Okay. Here we go.
6'10" guys who can shoot the ball like him do not grow on trees.
Okay.
And I
What
know
about
that
guys that can't shoot against any good college basketball teams?
the guy is playing 1-on-5 every night. Have you seen Wisconsin
He
Milwaukee?
he also plays in the Horizon League. And when have we ever talked about a top 10 prospect that plays in such a weak division of college basketball and
Yeah.
sucks?
Listen, I'm going to
If
say
he can't dominate in the Horizon League, he's going to
I
dominate
have
in the NBA.
watched Wisconsin Milwaukee 3
Yeah.
times this year. Their guards can't even get the ball up the floor, bro.
It's
a they
terrible
can't even
team.
sets. They can't do anything. So, first of all, Patrick Baldwin made a terrible decision in terms of where to go. You don't make, like, I understand what was going on with his father and everything.
His dad's the head coach, for listeners that don't know. Yeah.
That and that's one thing. Okay. You tell your dad that I will take care of you when I'm a millionaire. All right.
Yeah.
And then you go to Duke. And that's what you do.
Yeah.
He should have went to Duke.
Agreed.
I mean, he's basically wasting a year of development right now.
Right.
So
what you're saying is the decision making is questionable.
I mean, what I'm saying is that the kid is loyal. That's the way I'm going to construe it. The kid is super loyal. So you gotta take it like that.
So Tony, tell me this with him, because I get it. 6'10", top 10 prospect coming out of high school, known as one of the best shooters in the draft. Wasn't very good for Team USA in the under 19s, by the way, which was a bit of a red flag as well. I buy all of that, but then tell me why he doesn't play hard, because that is the thing that I think scouts are bent out of shape with him about right now. Fair enough, you're on a bad team, your guards don't give you the thing, whatever. You still got to play your butt off when you're on the court, especially on the defensive end. There's multiple clips I can show you from the film where he's just essentially giving up on plays. He's not doing that. I think that's what's got scouts bent out of shape. Like, the attitude seems to not be great. And again, we understand why, but it's something that scouts carefully look at when you're drafting a player, especially if you're drafting a guy in the lottery who's going to go to an NBA team that also may not be very good. Are you not going to play hard because you can't win?
So I'm not going to defend that.
Okay.
Like, the kid definitely needs to play harder. He needs to get better. He needs to get better with the ball in his hands. He needs to get a lot better defensively, and he needs to get a lot stronger. So, if I'm picking Patrick Baldwin, you best believe I'm going to be talking to his father. I'm going to be talking to him. I'm going to be talking to people around him. I'm going to be talking to his teammates. I'm going to vet him pretty thoroughly. But if Patrick Baldwin hits, then he's a steal. And that's the thing. If Patrick
This is almost like the Zaire Williams debate last year, who went 10.
Patrick Baldwin hits at the exact position that the Knicks need him to hit, then this kid was worth the fourth pick of the draft or the fifth pick. You're getting extra value for him. It's a really hit or miss thing, and I understand that it's a real risk pairing him up with Tom Thibodeau, because Tom Thibodeau is typically very, very difficult on rookies. But I mean, you look at the shooting, which the Knicks don't have. You look at the length, which the Knicks don't have outside of RJ Barrett. You look at, just the fluidity, and you can just close your eyes and you could just see a 25-point scorer lurking somewhere within Patrick Baldwin. Now, it might take him 5 years to get there, but he could get there. So
sounds like you're not a big believer either in what Cam Reddish is going to do now that Cam Reddish is going to be a superstar in New York. By the way, listeners, if it sounds like I'm worked up, I'm just giving Tony a hard time here. I would also
Cam
have
get
Patrick
better
Baldwin
with the ball in his hands.
Somewhere around there.
I need to see Cam get better with the ball in his hands.
I'm just mostly giving Tony a hard time here because he's a Knicks fan, and I'm not as down on Patrick Baldwin as it seems, because I don't think you write off 19-year-olds that quick, and he is in absolutely a difficult situation. Scouts are bent out of shape with him right now
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, you control playing hard. You can't blame that on anybody else, and you control that, and that's something he can work on. But he's also young. He is in a difficult situation, and he's in a really great prospect. So also Patrick Baldwin's family, please don't hit me up on Twitter right now either. All right, that's the Knicks. At 11, let's get controversial again. According to 538, the Los Angeles Lakers will also be in the lottery
They're
with a
not going to
38
be in the
48
lottery.
record. The only issue with the Lakers is they don't own their pick no matter what. If it falls 1 through 10, it goes to the New Orleans Pelicans. If it falls 11 through 30, it goes to the Memphis Grizzlies. So this pick at 11 goes to the Memphis Grizzlies, who are the surprise team in the NBA this year. Look like they might be contenders this year, and given their youth, look like they're long-term set up to be contenders right
and
now.
Zaire Williams is a
awesome.
reason to pick Patrick Baldwin.
Yeah. And they're playing Zaire Williams like 15 to 20 minutes a night, and he's
Zaire Williams Zaire Williams and BJ Boston both had the same exact year that Patrick Baldwin is having this year.
Yeah.
And they had the same exact
but it was in the Pac-12 and the SEC, not in the Horizon League. But okay. Fair. All right. So again, Tony doesn't believe the Lakers or the Knicks will be in the lottery. Again, we're using 538's projections. But Tony, you're back on the board. Memphis Grizzlies at 11 via the Lakers. Keegan Murray.
Memphis Grizzlies. So you look at what they do, right? This is what they do. They took Xavier Tillman. They took Desmond Bain. They took Dylan Brooks, right? So they
play guys who can play.
They draft guys who can play basketball. Okay, they don't go for upside. So this is almost definitely going to be Keegan Murray.
Yeah,
almost definitely. Brandon Clark as well. They took Brandon Clark. So they take guys that know how to play basketball. And
they'll look like the smartest guys in the draft afterwards because Keegan Murray is only the leading scorer in college basketball as a sophomore.
That's what they do.
He shoots, he blocks shots, he rebounds. Yep. But he's old. He is old for a sophomore.
He's 21 years old, okay? But guess what?
21.
He's reliable.
Yeah.
He is super reliable. Like he's very good defensively. He's got upside. Now, the one thing that people were worried about before this year has been the jump shot. The jump shot has come along a little bit. He's going to turn 22 before the start of his rookie year, but he's definitely got a chance. You just plug him. He's plug and play. And you don't know how long you're going to have Kyle Anderson. So you take Keegan Murray. He's been one of the best players in college basketball all year, one of the best 3 players in college basketball all year. You take him, you plug him in the lineup, and you let him go.
Okay, I agree. If Keegan Murray drops out of the top 10, I'm going to be scratching my head a little bit. I get it, the age thing. He's going to be like 21.8 on draft night, like lots of different things. But here's another guy that doesn't have a lot of talent around him in Iowa. Every night playing in a really tough conference, and everybody's like, he's kind of doing it against mid-major teams and what have you. He's been really good. And then on the night that he got in foul trouble, his brother stepped in and did his Keegan Murray impersonation and went off the other night. It's incredible. So yes, there's a Chris Murray as well, his brother, and very difficult to tell them apart.
The other thing is, what if they take? I mean, we haven't taken Jalen Duren yet, and Jalen Duren would fit in well with Memphis because for me, he's the second best. He's the second best rim protector in the draft. He might be the best pure shot blocker in the draft, even though Chet Holmgren is a better rim protector, and there is a difference. Yeah. But I'm taking Keegan Murray because he knows how to play basketball, and that's what Memphis drafts.
Well, it's hard to say, and we should talk about Jalen Duren, who I had going a little bit higher, and definitely you could see him there. One of the youngest players in the draft, like you said. Another guy that I wish the motor was more consistent, and that's probably my biggest beef with him right now. He's young again, but he given his body and his talent, he should not disappear in games the way that he sometimes just completely disappears in games. And that's really my only knock on him. It's tough for me to say that he's the best shot blocker in this draft, though, when Walker Kessler right now out of Auburn
True.
is putting up literally historic numbers as a shot blocker. Has a 19.7% shot block percentage, which would rank the highest of any player in college basketball in the last decade. So there might be a better shot blocker out there right now. Though Walker Kessler doesn't have the athleticism that Jalen Duren does, and why he doesn't go this high. So yeah, we haven't taken him. He's not been on the board. So I'm at Atlanta at 12. Uh, who I
They
don't
got
think
like
anybody thought.
7 of those guys, though.
Yeah, Atlanta has like 7 of those guys, and Okongwu, by the way, I think is going to be
Very good.
is going to be really good. And he had an incredible block on Giannis Antetokounmpo the other night, and defensively, his numbers, put him in like the top 10 in the NBA right now, even though he's played just like 11 games, so a small sample size. So Atlanta definitely doesn't need Jalen Duren, given that they have Clint Capella, given that they have a Kongwu. Um, I think there's going to be some deals made, frankly. I wouldn't be surprised to see them move. I don't think Atlanta really wants to be in the lottery anyway. And I think you can make an argument they're going to figure out a way to avoid the lottery as well at the end. But I'm because he's not off the board yet, I'm just giving him Jalen Duren here because I think I get why he's not a top 5 prospect anymore, especially in the modern NBA today. But he's too young. There's too much talent there for me not to take a flyer on him 12. I know he's not a great fit in Atlanta. TyTy Washington might be another guy that could be interesting here as well because of his ability to play on and off the basketball, given his shooting ability as well. And he's really come on for Kentucky. But I'll go Jalen Duren here, which gives you, Tony, the Washington Wizards. All those feel good stories at the start of the season about how this is finally the Wizards' year have kind of tamped down a little bit. 538 projected him with a 40 and 42 record. Who would you give the Washington Wizards at 13?
This is easy. This is my easiest pick of the first round.
Okay.
No, it's not. I'm taking Blake Wesley.
Oh, love Blake Wesley. Okay, I like that.
Love Blake Wesley.
Yeah.
Right now, Spencer Dinwiddie's their only point guard. Howell Neville's been really good, but I'm taking Wesley. I'm developing him for a few years, and hopefully by the time Spencer Dinwiddie's time is done in Washington, I have a dynamic point guard on my hands. I know people are questioning whether he's a point guard or not. I think that you can put the ball in his hands. I think he makes above average reads. I think he makes winning plays. He's 6'5", and I just love that size. So even if he doesn't top out at a point guard, he's a combo guard at worst. I think he can shoot the ball. I think he knows how to get downhill off the dribble. I think he's effective off the dribble. I think he's going to be a good pick and roll player. I'm on the Blake Wesley train.
Love Blake Wesley. I've been on that train for a while. I think that's a great spot for him, and a guy that I think some folks have been sleeping on a little bit. All right, let's wrap this up. According to 538, again, don't kill me. Charlotte Hornets.
Oh, there's no way.
At 43 and 39. Well, the East is good this year. The East is better than the West, so there has to be 7 and 7, right? So actually, the next projected worst team is the Clippers, but the Clippers make it in. And by the way, the Clippers have to send their pick to Oklahoma City Thunder, so that's an issue as well. So Charlotte is there. That means that they're projecting the Raptors, the Cavs, some other surprise teams to have a little bit better record. I want to go Charlotte and say, man, I want them to figure out their big man issue. I know they've been trying to talk about that during the trade deadline, using James Bouknight as potential trade bait here. If they do that, then adding another guard like a TyTy Washington, makes a lot of sense here. If they don't do that, I'm going to give my other little sleeper. I'm going to go back to Baylor freshman Jeremy Suhan.
Yeah, Suhan's been really good.
Suhan, according to Fran Fraschilla, that's the correct way to pronounce it. Really interesting big guy who can stretch the floor, do a little bit of everything, plays with great energy, good athlete. I've really enjoyed watching him play. He did not come even with the hype of a Kendall Brown, but I think he's been special. And, you've watched Baylor struggle the last couple of games and he's been out. with an ankle injury, and I think he was a more important part of that team than people understand. And so I'm gonna have him sort of wrap out the lottery at 14. You like him?
Yeah, I would pick somebody else though.
Who's your guy? Who's your last guy?
My guy for Charlotte would be Agbaji.
Oh, now you're talking to a Kansas fan now, and so you know that because I watch every Kansas game and I get so frustrated with the Jayhawks that all those guys' stock is like a little bit further because I'm emotionally invested
Yeah,
in them. But he's having a really great senior season.
I mean, the athleticism, the upside is a 3D guy. I know that Charlotte needs a big, so I understand your selection. I would also consider Mark Williams there as well.
Yeah, Mark Williams
but,
would be very interesting with LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, but
and they have Kai Jones, by the way, who doesn't get any playing time, but
right, exactly.
Who knows what Kai Jones is going to turn into.
But you look at what they need with LaMelo Ball. They need shooting and athleticism around him, in my opinion, particularly on the wings. Obviously, Bridges has been terrific, but Agbaji, just the run and jump athleticism, the defensive upside, the shot upside. He never has to become an on-ball guy with LaMelo Ball in the lineup. I think that's just terrific value there.
All right. He's Tony Jones of The Athletic. We got through a lot of guys, Tony.
Yes, we did.
Clearly, the rapport is still there. It's been a while, but it's really fun talking.
I told you I was ready for this. I was ready to like reach for people and everything, man.
All right. Well, I love it. We're gonna have Tony back soon. You won't have to wait this long to hear Tony Jones's voice again. But Tony, have safe travels back to Utah. Enjoy covering the Jazz, and we'll talk to you soon.
No problem. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Chat Ford's NBA Big Board on the Locked On Podcast Network. Aloha.